good, my people? I am the Toon Trooper, or Toons for short. Today I'll be going over update V0.16. I'll meta release the patch notes for this update today, and it will be live March 28th on Thursday this week. Normally the patches for our metas go up on Tuesday, but since Predecessor is coming to Xbox and is gonna go to open beta on Thursday, that means we just have to wait 2 days to get this update, which is fine. It makes sense. Now, I've already gone over all these patches, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of my thoughts and opinions on it. So, first thing they talk about is open beta. As I mentioned, open beta starts the 28th, and it will also be coming to Xbox on the 28th, which is great. So, there's going to be just a lot more players, both on Xbox, which never had predecessor, and open beta means that even people on Steam, right? Anyone could just come and play because the game is going to be free. The other thing they're adding is localization, which means that they're going to be adding 5 languages. As of right now, this is only going to be for PC players. It's not for console players, but that will be coming in a later update. Now, in this patch, they actually revealed 2 new skins: the Ruby Scarab skin and for Grux, and the Murdoch Snakebite skin. The Murdoch Snakebite is an uncommon skin, which means it's going to be 800 platinum, and the Ruby Scarab Grux skin is an epic skin, which means it's going to be 1,600 platinum. But for the Ruby Scarab skin, there's also a bundle for it, which is you can see right here, which is going to include the skin, well, the hero, the skin, an icon, a banner, and a spray. Now, there is a similar bundle out right now for Argus, and the price for that one is 24.50. So I would assume this is the same amount. They're also bringing back the Frost King Revenant bundle. I don't remember if this was a legendary skin. If it's also an epic skin, then this one will also be 24.50. If not, it's going to be more. As they mentioned, we're going to go down. Legendary skins are worth more. Now, something else that they're adding is something that they're calling a quick start bundle. I think this is a great idea. Mainly for new, they're doing this mainly for new players, so that you have to unlock characters. But in this bundle, they're going to give you 3 characters in a certain role, and not just the characters. They're going to give you a skin for each character, or they're going to give you at the very least 1 skin for one of the characters, or if not, skins for all the characters. And they're also going to give you a spray. The reason I think this is a wonderful idea, because one, they have it for every role, so depending on what your playstyle is, maybe you'll like to buy that bundle. But two, as I'm going to show you down low, they changed the pricing for all the skins, and they made it more easy to explain. They named all the different rarities. I'll show it right here. So common is 500 now, uncommon 800, rare is 1,200, epic 1,600, legendary 2,400. And like to give an example, looking at this offlane bundle, right? This has 2 common skins and an uncommon skin. That means for the common skins, it's 500 each. That would be 1,000, and for the uncommon skin, that'll be 800. So just the skins alone is 1,800. But this bundle is worth 600. Every single one is worth 600. Even the ones that are single, right? These skins are rare skins, and they're 1,200 just for the skin alone. But the bundle is 600. So even if you're an existing player, because I don't know exactly how this is gonna work, but I'm assuming this is gonna be in the shop. So even if you're an existing player and you don't have any of these skins, they're gonna be at a reduced price. So I think this is just wonderful, because it kind of seems like everyone is gonna be able to get some of the skins that are already out for the game at a reduced price. Over here, they just mention all the existing skins and if their rarity changed and if their price changed. For most of them, the price has been reduced. As you can see, a lot of them reduced by 100, some 800, 600. These are the common ones, uncommon, rare ones, epic ones. So just a nice change. This is just a downtime, right? When the update comes, before the update comes, before the update is live, the servers are going to be down on Wednesday 27th. Right here, they talk about additional refunds. If you bought these specific skins right here, they're going to give you an extra refund just because they're more of the newer skins, and these skins are being part of some of these bundles, like the Howitzer one, the Fangbot one, and the Alien Drongo one. Now, one of the things that I'm most excited for are visual updates. The map is just looking more vibrant. It looks like it has more color to it. Uh, More grass, more shadows. It just, the map is just looking even better. A quick little update of what the map is going to look like. As far as it looks like, it doesn't look like they added any more like jungle camps or made any changes to like how to enter, different locations. So the map is just a visual improvement. Gameplay balance changes. Something that they're actually doing is once you're level 5 or higher, they're gonna increase the death timers for about 1 to 3 seconds. And the reason for this is because let's say it's early game, just to give an example, say it's early game and you kill an opposing team member. Let's say you kill their jungler. And so because you kill their jungler, you want to go to Fangtooth and you want to take it. By the time you're ending the fight with Fangtooth, the jungler will probably be back alive and we'll be able to go over there and maybe contest it, or if not, even try to smite it and probably steal the buff. So this is why they're adding 1 to 3 seconds. Other changes they made are one to explosive flower right here. Blue jungle lane side explosive flower has had its position adjusted to make its jumping up into lane easier. Okay, not a big deal. Another thing was mini prime. Apparently it was bug. No longer applies a damage reduction buff on its basic attack. Now to the hero balance changes. I think this is the one that everyone's excited for because Argus, even though he was the latest hero, he is the most broken hero currently out in the game. But go through this real quick. The balance changes are actually really good. Um, they finally, I feel like everything they did in this patch is things that everyone has been asking for, but this is the biggest one. Physical power went down, decreased 54 to 50. His 1, which is his stun, damage decreased by 5 at all levels. The scaling went down. They didn't have to, like, if they would have left this the same, I would have been fine. This is the big one that everyone's been complaining about. The stun duration went from 1.25 and now it scales up, starting from 1 second to 1.2 seconds. Uh, yeah, the stun was just too long. He's not even a support, and he was able to stun people longer with this ability, and it was 1 second less than the Decker stasis bomb, which was crazy. But now it scales up, and it doesn't even go back up to 1.25 seconds. This is his 2. This is the crystal he summons, which slows the enemy, and then it pulls them. Damage was decreased by 5 at all levels. Mana increased by 10 at all levels. So now less damage, and normally you combo this with the 1, right? You probably throw this first, they're slowed, take a bit of damage, you stun them in there, and then by the time the stun is done, they get pulled. Slow decrease, so now it's easier to get out of it, so that way you don't get pulled. But obviously, if you stun them, the chances of them getting pulled is pretty much guaranteed. And cooldown is increased by 1 second. The fact that these two got nerfed because the combo was just so strong, it did so much damage. The CC was insane. Particle Shredder, this is 3. This is the one where people call the machine gun, because once you get it to level 5, all you gotta do is hold it, and he just keeps throwing like, these green little orbs. Damage increase from 18 to 50, from 18 to 54. Most people max this out first, and the reason they probably did this is because his other abilities got nerfed, so they had to compensate him somewhere else. So they buffed this just by a little bit. We'll see just if he's still annoying to fight, because he was used honestly in every single role, but it's insane that this guy was probably the best support in the game. Now we're going to Countess. Countess got a buff last patch where her Blade Siphon did 10 more damage early game, and apparently they found that this was a little bit too strong on her, as it let her clear faster, and it made it so that people were unable to really contest her early game, which I thought was a great buff, and it seems like so that everyone else, because she's being picked up a lot more. So they're doing a bit of a shift where it's like Countess has always been able to like decimate people late game. She could just burst people down. You just teleport, do your ultimate, throw your two, and then do your three. You know, you spin on them. Um, so they're giving her more health. Health growth is being decreased, but more health early game at level 1. Her scaling is going down with her 2, which is, the AoE that she throws from 80 to 75%. So, kind of hurts it. Mainly late game. And the Blade Siphon, they left the 10 damage that they added last patch, but late game, this does 20 less damage. But to compensate for doing that, for doing less damage late game, and now it heals more pretty much late game. So it kind of balances out. She still does a lot of damage and is probably still able to burst people down. It just won't be as oppressive as before, but she can heal more. So we'll have to see if that's actually better. Drongo gets a bug fix. Grenade no longer prevents Drongo from using his basic attack while in midair. Okay, not a big deal. Gideon. This one I did not see coming, but I'm glad it happened. This is actually pretty cool. Damage decreased is ultimate, which is a black hole, and he just damages everyone around them. Damage decreased from 405, 630, 855 to 360, 522, 648. But magical scaling increased from 261 to 315. I think the reason they did this is because in order for you to get the same damage, if not more damage, because that scaling number looks insane. I don't know if that's accurate. um, yeah, I mean, it does a lot of hits. It's not like it's a single hit. It's, it does a black hole and it does multiple hits. That's probably why. But and this is like the overall total damage. Like if all the hits hit you, that's why it looks a bit crazy. But they're incentivizing that you build more damage on Gideon if you want to get a lot more damage with his ult. So this is it might. So what I'm thinking is it's gonna do less early game, or like maybe a level 1, maybe level 2 will be the same amount of damage as before, right? Because by that time you have like a few items, and every damage you do build on Gideon does have damage, but some have more than others. Most people like building True Silver, which is a little bit of damage and some magical defense, but you do it so you have a shield and it protects you while you're in your ultimate and you don't get CC'd. But maybe they want people to not build it as much depending on the matchup, and you could build something that has more power. Greystone finally getting touched. I think he needs even more nerfs than this, but it's something. Make Way has one, which is like something that Spencer is, I guess, kind of like a whirlwind around them, and it just does damage. This usually you max this out first. This does less damage late game by 20, but the bonus physical scaling, power scaling is increased by 10%. So I guess what they're trying to incentivize is basically they want people that play Greystone to build more power instead of defense. So maybe instead of starting Fire Blossom to maybe Basilisk or something, maybe we just go Basilisk into like Citadel, and maybe you won't even build Fire Blossom at all. He can Scorch is ultimate. Increase power scaling from 135 to 165. Yeah, okay. This is needed. I know it got changed before where they made it so in order for you to maximize the damage on his ultimate, you had to keep the ultimate channeling instead of just canceling it when Scorch does the burp and it knocks people back. But they're probably, my guess is they're most likely buffing it because he is kind of like out of position while he's doing that, right? He's kind of vulnerable to attacks. Um, so I guess they figured let's increase his damage while he's, because he's pretty much like right in front of you while he's doing like a flamethrower. Chimera gets touched up. This I also like because from level 1 through 6, Chimera is the best jungler, and you cannot contest him, but he can contest you. His physical armor level 1 is going down by 3. So this might stop some Chimera players when they gonna go counter jungle and they're gonna gank the other person's jungle because now they have less defense and they're more vulnerable. Kwang, his health goes down, not a big deal. His passive, they say decreased. Um, the damage decreased per level, but the initial damage went up by 1, and the magical power scaling increased from 10 to 12. I see this as pretty much a buff, right? Because this went up by 2% overall. I see this doing just a little bit more damage. So this was actually bugged. It says secondary on everything, but Surge of the Heavens, I believe, is his 2, which is his dash. Damage decrease from 70 to 65. Not a big deal. They probably did this because the knockup is, people probably still find the knockup annoying. Light of the Heavens, this is his 3. This is where he throws electricity on his sword and he gets a shield. So while the sword is out, it does true damage, and they're nerfing the true damage from 80 to 260, from 80 to 240, so it does 20 damage late game. Kwang is okay early game, but since the last patch, he's been really annoying to fight late game, especially because he can abuse this ability and he could get more shields. Something else that's happening is shield health scaling decreased from 8%, from 7%, so he gets more shield the more health he builds. It also scales with a little bit of power, so now they made it so that he gets less shield. His ultimate is going from 200 to 480, from 220 to 420, so more damage early game, less damage late game. Like I said, he was really annoying to fight late game because he had so much shield, and his ultimate, did a nice chunk of damage, so they nerf, the shield a little bit, and they nerf the damage for his late game. But to compensate for that, it does do more damage early game, so his laning phase should be better to start out. Next up is Lieutenant Bellica. She's getting a bit of shifts. So her secondary, her boy Drone, they're making it so early game it takes a little bit less mana. Late game takes a little bit more. To me, I don't think this is too big of a deal, but I feel like this might be better when you play her in support. Maybe you want to max this out, but I don't know how effective that's gonna be. Avoid bomb cooldown increase from 6 to 7. I still think this is a very short cooldown for a clear ability, and any depending on how many enemies you hit, it refunds a bit of mana back. So I just think the cooldown is still short. But okay, it is increased, so she did technically get nerfed. Neural Disruptor, her ultimate. So what they did here was they're shifting a bit of this ultimate does more damage. The less mana the opponent has, but they're making it so the initial damage is more. And if they have less mana, it doesn't do as much as before. So initial damage, right? Just for doing the ultimate has increased from 170 to 300 to 175 to 335. So it just does, what is it? 5 more damage at level 1, does 20 more damage at level 2, and does 35 more damage at level 3. Magical power is getting increased from 40 to 65. This is insane. This is really good in mid lane. So if you're playing her as a support, this probably won't be as big of a deal. But in mid lane, this is huge. Missing mana damage decreased from 40% to 60, from 30% to 40. So right, the initial damage of the ultimate went up, and then it's gonna scale even better as you build magical power. But you'll still do more damage to them if they have less mana, but it's not gonna be like the main damage of the ability won't come from this, right? Because it used to do, 60 at late game before. It used to do 60% more damage. Now late game it does 40, which is what it used to have at level 1. But better shifts. I feel like I do see her more in support. Maybe now we'll see her more in mid lane, because in mid lane I think this is a huge buff. Morgash, I actually like her changes very much. Her passive power scaling is increasing from 0.15% to 0.18. Okay, great. And monster damage cap has increased from 40 to 60. This means that when your passive applies to minions, it's going to do more damage. and you're able to clear the minions a lot faster, and the damage scaling went up as well. So this is just great. Something else that they're adding or changing is a swarm, which is their 2 damage increase from 80 to 200, from 100 to 200. Okay, late game is the same, but early game is 100 more. People level this up last, so I think that's a buff. Healing change from 8 to 28 to 10 to 26. Less late game, but more early game. Again, people level this up last, so I feel like that's overall this is a buff because you're gonna have 20 more damage and you're gonna have 2 more healing per tick per hit. Healing magical powers getting increased from 8 to 10%. This is really good because, as I keep saying, you level this up last, so it just seems that as you're leveling up all your other abilities, if you kept your build the same, this is just gonna do more damage and you're gonna be able to heal for more. But to compensate for this, hero healing multiplier decreased from 6% to 4%. So you can't have her healing in insane amounts because the magical power scaling went up, and even though the healing went down over here by 2, right? Overall, once you max this out, and if you want to max it out first, you are going to heal for a lot more because the power scaling went up, and all you build on more, I guess, just damage items anyway, because you want to assassinate people as fast as possible. Rampage making changes to his ultimate. His ultimate was really strong, mainly because the duration, it went from 8 to 12 to 8 to 10. Before, when it was 12, people found Rampage to be really strong because he was able to go, late game. You were able to do his ultimate, do his 1, which is his rock that he throws, but because he's in his ultimate, he does it instantly. They get stunned for 1.6 seconds, but he stayed in his ultimate so long that if you build ability haste or cooldown on him, you would get the rock again right as the ultimate is ending, and you could just stun someone instantly right away, right before your ult ends. And this gave him an insane amount of crowd control, and he was really hard to deal with, especially since Rampage is a tank. So you just have him constantly stunning people for a very long time, and it does a lot of damage. So even though the duration is getting nerfed, his max health is being increased, which is something that they decreased before, but now they're increasing it back. So now it's 250 to 450, from 250 to 500. So 25 at same at level 1, but 25 more at level 2, and 50 more at max level. Richter, physical power decreased from 28 to 27. Okay. That's I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, his passive allows him to get a shield. So the fact that he has very little physical armor makes sense. Health decreased from 590 to 580. Again, he got the shield, so this is a nerf. But fighting him was really annoying because he had that shield. So now it's like, oh, if you get rid of his shield, of his passive, he is going to take more damage because his shield mitigated just so much damage. Something else that's also being hit, the silence duration from his 1 is going from 1.25 to 1 second. I always thought it was 1 second. I didn't even know it was 1.25 seconds. This is a much needed nerf. All of this actually. Now the fact that you could do more damage to him, especially when he doesn't have a shield. Because Richter has always been top tier, always since the very beginning. Right, once you get pulled, you die, and that still might be the case. But you're able to like play a little bit better, and you're able to do more damage to him anyway. Faye, Harvest Needle's range increased by 5%. They did this because apparently she was struggling in lane, but now she could fight people like Howitzer a bit better and other mid laners that just have more range. Um, Faye is a bully. That's what you do when you play her. When you play her, you want to max out her 2, and you want to constantly harass the enemy player with the 2, because the more you keep hitting them um, with the 2, the more damage you do. And I believe the faster you get the ability. So now the fact that it has a bit more range, even if it's just 5%, which is, it might seem like a little bit. If your aim is on point and you keep on hitting your ability, you're gonna shred them. Twin Blast, this is his 1. Damage change from 40 to 140 to 45 to 125. More early game, less late game. Physical power scaling increased from 50 to 55. They just wanted Twin Blast to harass people less with this ability as it did too much damage. Plus, he already harassed people with his grenades anyway. He has two of those. Saurus, similar to Twin Blast. Spear of Near. Saurus, he constantly harasses people, and if you don't throw it, the cooldown is reduced by half. So damage is going from 70 to 170 to 60 to 180. They're making it so early game because Saurus is very strong early game. The spear does 10 less damage, but late game it does 10 more damage. And then cooldown is also being shifted, I guess. It goes from 150 to 90, but then it's going to go from 130 to 110. So it's 20 seconds less at level 1, but it's 20 seconds more at max level. So I don't know how much this is going to change this. Saurus does fall off a little bit going late game, so just having his ultimate have 20 seconds more is, it's definitely going to hurt him a lot. But because he's able to get his ultimate a lot earlier, even though the spear of near damage went down early game. And keep in mind, you do usually max that out first. And when you max it out, it is going to have more damage than before. You might be able to, you might be able to like steamroll the off laner. You just gotta wait until maybe this ability gets to level 5. Not that many item changes, but Rift Walkers, Rift Snatcher no longer possesses 100% magical power scaling. Okay, bug fix, I didn't even know that. Fire Blossom. Everyone abuses this item. Every offlaner builds this. Even some supports build this. Even when I play support, I build it because the item is just that strong, just doing constant damage around you. And the fact that it has mana, which is why I build it as support. But it's getting a bit of touch-up armor. Is being decreased from 45 to 40. Okay, that's not bad. It's something, right? And Time Warp. This one is huge. Um, Cost decrease from 32 to 3,000. Magical power decrease from 90 to 80. And it has a new recipe. Point staff to Scepter. To me, this to me is a huge buff. Huge buff. The reason is because of this. Even though the magical power went down from 90 to 80, 80 is still a lot. And the fact that now it's worth 3,000, this can actually be a first buy items for a lot of mid laners. So most mid laners they will either buy Combustion, Azure Core, maybe Orb of Enlightenment. Or I guess you could say Time Warp, right? Most people don't build. What's the other item called? It's not Mutilator. It's I forget what the name of the item is, but most people don't build it anymore, so it doesn't matter. But now this is like some people were already building Time Warp first, but it was very expensive, and I've seen people build it on supports, but the thing is that most supports on average they only use like 3 items. They never, because they're always the last ones to get 5 items online. And the problem with this is that it's very expensive, right? 3,200 compared to if you buy Fire Blossom, which is like 2,900, you're able to get Fire Blossom online first. Or if you actually build support items, most support items are like 2,650, right? If you round up, what is that, 27? This is like that's 500 less gold, right? You get that whatever item it is online a lot faster than this. But now that the price is going down, people that were already building are now definitely gonna want to build it to get your abilities faster. And now in mid lane, this item, this is probably gonna be like a first buy item for almost every mid laner, right? I play a little bit of Smite, and when I played, the item that every mid laner always bought first was Chronos Pendant, and it's somewhat similar to this, where it's like it reduces the cooldown of your abilities, and I believe it also has cooldown on it. Um, it's just, it's an item that mages love because you want to spam your abilities as fast as possible. So, and the item didn't have a lot of damage. So even though the damage for this went down, the fact that the gold cost of this went down by 200, and now like this is probably going to be a first buy item for almost every mid laner. Now it's like, do you want to stack? Do you want burst damage right away? Or do you want to get your abilities faster? And even if you do want burst damage right away, right, you get that from combustion. This is probably still better overall because even if you get in a fight, early game, it's not like you're gonna, if you use all your abilities, you shouldn't be able to kill the mid laner. Whereas this, even though if just hypothetically, if you was to get into a fight with the opposing mid laner, you will get your abilities first. So you'll be able to use your abilities twice before they're able to use their abilities again. So this this to me is just insane. I think that this is probably the biggest winner of the whole patch. The fact that this went down by 200 is actually a very big deal. And just a few bug fixes, nothing that I found too crazy. But yeah, this is the a quick rundown of the patch notes. Let me know what you think, and have a good day.